Hey everybody, it's Dreadlocks here from Black Hair Compass, and I am coming to you guys with another video. I had a viewer ask me to do a video on things I wish I knew before I started my locks, and I thought that was a great video idea, and I pretty much was able to come up with 4 things, and so I'll just jump right into it. So the first thing is, I wish I understood the importance of banding. Banding would apply to you if you have really small and or long locks, if you have, or long starter locks I should say. So again, if you have really tiny locks, or if you have locks that you're starting on a lot of hair regardless of size, banding is something that would be advantageous for you to do. I kind of had heard about banding when I was doing my research, but I just didn't understand the significance of it, and so I didn't practice it. But as the months went by and I started to see how my locks were changing, I understood why you should do banding. So banding is basically where you can gather your locks and you braid them together to kind of like hold them in place, or you can band them with like hair ties, and you just put one here and then another one here and then another one here. It's what it's intended to do is to stretch out your locks and to keep them in place. And banding would be good for you to do when you are washing your hair and also when you are sleeping. I didn't band my hair, and over time I had a lot of bunching, which is what you see here, where it's like you can see that the lock is kind of small but the ends got kind of big, and I believe that that is a direct result of not having banded my locks. And that's pretty much like throughout my head. Not so much in the back. I do have a couple of well-behaved locks that just miraculously stayed straight, but the majority of the locks in my crown are all bunched, and if you don't want that, then you should band your locks when washing and sleeping. So the next thing that I wish I knew was separating my locks after washing. For you guys who have followed my journey from install to date, and I think it was in one of my monthly lock updates, maybe like either 2 or the 3-month lock update, I remember I went back in to interlock my hair and it was a mess. All of my locks were married at the roots, and I had to take scissors to like separate them, and then I experienced thinning in months that happened later, in months after that. And ultimately I just didn't understand that soap, any sort of soap agent, is going to accelerate how fast your hair locks. And so I would wash my hair as I would normally do as a loose natural, but I would not separate my locks. I didn't know to do that, and then my hair would dry and it would set tangled. And then I think I was like interlocking my hair every 8 weeks, and then the 8-week mark would come around and I could not get my locks apart. And I remember it was so devastating. I remember the anxiety I felt, because I was like, oh my God, I ruined my locks and I don't know how to fix this. Like, if I go to a professional, they're gonna tell me I have to cut my hair because they can't get through the tangle. Long story short, I was able to get the locks apart, but I had to use scissors. I probably didn't have to, but at the time I didn't know any other alternative. So I used scissors, I thinned out my lock. Long story short, it caused me a lot of problems. So I wish that I would have understood the importance of separating your locks after you wash them. I think that as your locks mature, that becomes less and less necessary, but definitely in the beginning stages when they are just setting, you have to separate your each and every lock after every wash so that they don't join together and then dry that way and then continue to grow that way, and then you have a huge problem on your hands. So that's something that I wish I knew. The third thing is I wish that I had kind of looked before I leaped. Again, if you follow my month-to-month lock updates, you know that there was a point in time where I tried castor oil on my scalp. I had been hearing really good things about it as far as it being an agent to thicken up new growth, and I was like, well, that's, I mean, not that I need for my roots to be thicker, but I was like, it's not gonna hurt, and I hear so many good things about it, I'll just go ahead and use it. And I remember when I got the castor oil, I opened the bottle and I smelled it, and it was like really stinky to me, but I was like, I'm just gonna go ahead and use it anyway. And I did that. I think I did like 2 applications in my scalp, like weeks apart, and it took me months to get that smell out of my hair. And now some people don't mind the smell of castor oil, so if that's you, then this doesn't really apply to you. But I knew that I didn't like the way that it smelled. I knew that I thought it was stinky, and I still put it in my hair. And when I say it took me months to get that smell out of my hair, I'm not exaggerating. Like, over a course of months and using soap and trying to wash it out, I finally got it out of my hair, but it took probably like 4 or 5 months to get that smell out of my hair. And so that was like kind of like an obvious thing where I'm like, if I knew that I didn't like the smell of this, I probably shouldn't have used it. And that's not just for castor oil. I mean, anything. If anything looks suspect to you before you would put it in your hair and it's already kind of raising red flags, just go with your intuition and don't put it in your hair, because with locks, it's very difficult to reverse putting products in. It's very hard to get them out. So just know that if something's kind of not sitting well with you and it's kind of raising red flags, just don't proceed. And the last thing that I kind of wish I knew before locks, and I guess it's not really something to know, it's just like, I wonder if I needed to do this. So for those of you guys who started with me from the beginning, you know that I interlocked the entire length of my locks, and it took me 2 weeks to do that, and that was a grueling process. In hindsight, I wondered if I really needed to put that much energy into my hair. Like, I had several different options. I could have coiled my hair, I could have done mini braids, I could have done 2-strand twists, and I went with interlocking because I was trying to achieve Sisterlocks, and I know that that's what they use. So I was like, I'm just gonna stick with their system. But in the end, I was like, I wonder if really all that work doing my hair for hours upon hours for every day for 2 weeks was really necessary. I don't know. I think on some level, my locks started to look like locks way sooner than the average person, and I think that's because I interlocked them. I know a lot of people are always asking me like, how long does it take for your hair to lock? Like, when will my hair start looking like locks? And I'm like, for me, it was pretty instant. Like, my hair started looking like locks very quickly. And so I attribute that to interlocking, but at the same time, I'm like, I mean, would it have hurt me to just wait a little bit longer for my locks to form, but save myself time in the beginning? I don't know. This is actually something that I noticed from Halisa's videos when I think she started her second set of locks with 2-strand twists, and eventually the 2-strand twist unraveled, but the 2 parts that made the twist became her locks. And I know that when I was a loose natural, I did mini twists in my hair one time, and when I would go to comb them out, I didn't realize it at the time because I didn't know anything about locks, but they had started locking. And what would happen is my 2-strand twist would unravel, and those 2 strands were starter locks. And I was like, in hindsight, I could have saved myself so much time by just doing 2-strand twists and then allowing those 2-strand twists to kind of like separate and become locks themselves. I would have probably achieved just as many locks, because when I did mini twists on my hair, I would do like, I know I had well over 100, and I'm like, if I let them unravel, then that would be 200, you know? So I don't know. That's kind of up in the air. It's up for debate. You guys will just have to be the judge on what you guys think. Oftentimes I wonder if, had I coiled my hair, would I still have this bunching? I don't know. If I did the 2-strand twist, would it have saved me time? Absolutely. But do I have great results because I interlocked? I don't know. So that's just something that, it's not something that I wish I knew before I started, but it's definitely something that I think about oftentimes. Like, I wonder if I really needed to exert all of that energy in interlocking all of my head, because it took such a long time, but I'm undecided. I don't know. In the end, I'm very happy with the results that I have. I mean, I think that my locks look great. They formed beautifully. They started looking like locks very early on. So it just kind of is what it is. You'll just have to decide, but just know, just kind of like weigh out your options for all the different ways that you can start your locks. If you haven't seen my video on 6 different ways to start your locks, check that one out. And really, if you're trying to figure out how to start your locks, like, really take your time to think about each option and the pros and cons, and just make the best decision for yourself. As always, thank you for tuning in, and I will see you next time.